So I leave for Mexico in less than 48 hours and I have a lot of packing to do. I didn't have time to sit down and make a video. I thought rather than just kind of sitting down and doing a review later, what if I tried something different and we did a review on the go? So instead of just sitting down later, I'm just gonna take you with me. So let's go. Cherry is an interesting case of a movie. A lot of people have had negative reactions to the film, and not denying any of those reactions on their own, but I think that it might be misguided because I feel that Cherry isn't a bad film, but it's a film that has a lot of good ideas and not the right execution. Here's a really good example of what I mean. That over there in the background is a mall. Just like there's somebody to fill out a floor plan or a blueprint, somebody writes a script for a film, and then there's a crew of people that has to come in and make that film. The thing is that everyone has good ideas, but not everyone knows how to execute those ideas properly. And that one thing alone is what separates good films from great films. I'll give you a few examples though. The first thing that comes to mind is the lack of subtlety. What makes a movie so unpredictable is the subtlety that it uses, the quiet moments before the loud moments. It jars your senses because you wouldn't normally expect what's going to happen next. If the audience has no idea where the story's going, then they never know what's going to happen next. And since it's Cherry's story and it's telling it from his own point of view, there's a lot of narration in the movie as well. But sometimes the narration is used to explain things to us that are already happening on screen, which is a bit of a problem. You see, the point of narration is that it's supposed to explain things to the audience that can't be conveyed visually, meaning if there's something that you can't convey to the audience by just showing it on screen, that's where narration comes in. What the eyes can't show the audience is what narration can. But sometimes people overuse narration and use it to explain things that the audience is already seeing. For example, let's say I'm thirsty and I need to go get a glass of water. Why would I have to explain this to you if I'm already doing it? But that's not to say that Cherry doesn't do things well. There are actually quite a few things that Cherry does very well. One of my favorite choices in the film is when Cherry goes off to boot camp. They use a wider lens and the aspect ratio closes in, which gives you this feeling of claustrophobia. But when they shoot on a wider lens, it makes the subject feel smaller and insignificant in the frame. Say like this right here is a 35mm lens. This gives you a depth of field that separates your subject from the background. It's more closed in. It's closer to the subject. This is a more intimate type of lens. Say as compared to this, which is a 12mm lens. This captures everything. You have a broad scope, a broad view of the entire frame, and your subject is just a small part of that, and this gives little to no separation from the background. It may seem insignificant, but something as simple as a lens choice can be used to convey a completely different message visually in the story, which is why that choice of switching from a closed-in lens to a wider lens was a really good choice. And by this point in the video, I feel that it's important to mention that Tom Holland's performance in this movie is fantastic. I think it's hard to deny that he is one of the consistently good parts of this entire film. When you strip all of the negatives away, or if you're nitpicking, his performance still remains one of the best pieces, if not the best piece of the film. Cherry isn't a bad film, but it's also not a great film. It's a film that has great ideas but fails to deliver upon any of the ones that it sets up. Maybe in the hands of better directors or better screenwriters it could have been something fantastic, but it comes up short. I'm not trying to downplay the directors or the writer. It's a lot to tackle, and there's definitely a lot of story since it's already based on a book, so they're trying to take this adaptation and turn it into a film with a 2.5-hour runtime, which is very hard to do. I can say that I respect aiming high, and they definitely took a risk, and I will always respect risks more than people who play it safe, and this was definitely a risk. But unfortunately, not all of the chances that you take are going to pay off, and in this case, it didn't pay off as much as it was supposed to. I liked watching it. I don't regret watching it. I think people should watch it. I think it's worth your time, and even if you don't like it, it's an interesting case study to break down on your own. One of the best quotes I've ever heard is, "You'll learn more from bad films than you will from good films." I think the great part about the movie is that even if it's not your cup of tea, you can still take things away from it that you might have a different take on, and that might help you kickstart your own film career if that's what you're interested in. So I'm going to go be sleep deprived for another 24 hours and then go pack up the rest of my stuff and hop on a plane, but hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys when I'm back. That's all she wrote.